Daniel Mattlov. I really don't care if the Star League is ever reestablished. I'm more concerned with today, and today it is obvious that without the wisdom of Alexander Kerensky and the leadership of General Nicholas, we are little more than dirt-hugging, backstabbing barbarians. The vision of the two Kerenskys is the reason we have survived until now. And as long as I could still pilot a mech, pick up a pistol, or even spit in someone's eye, I will defend it. What are we supposed to use? Harsh language? Excerpt from a letter written by Daniel Mattlov to Elizabeth Hazen. Daniel Mattlov, a soldier known as much for his loyalty to the Kerenskys as his considerable abilities as a fighter pilot, joined Nicholas Kerensky in the Second Exodus. Born on the hegemony world of Kaf, as the second son of the Duke of Kaf, Daniel Mattlov was a member of one of the Terran hegemony's richest and most influential families. He grew up unwilling to fulfill his family's expectations that he devote his life either to business or politics. Nope, not gonna take up the family business, huh? He rebelled by enlisting in the Star League Defense Forces. He trained as a fighter pilot at the Flight Academy of Graham, graduating with honors, and then reporting to the elite fighter wing of the 11th Royal Battle Mech Division, Orion Division. His military career had been full of contradictions. Though a fighter pilot of exceptional skill and bravery, his haughty, prideful manner and short temper earned him numerous reprimands and cost him any chance of promotion above the rank of lieutenant. Sounds like he's the Maverick type. Many of these incidents, like buzzing the tower, 29 in all, 29 citations. But on report for assaulting someone who insulted the SLDF, his unit, or his commanding officer. His fierce sense of loyalty governed his whole life, perhaps because this is why the trait is one prized above all others by Clan Jade Falcon warriors. Despite his problems, Mattlov proved himself an excellent soldier. He performed brilliantly during General Kerensky's attempt to quell the Periphery Uprising beginning in 2765, and in the struggle to defeat Stefan Emrys after he seized Terra and most of the hegemony worlds. He made ace 10 times over. That would be 50 kills. And suffered injuries on 5 separate occasions, so 5 Purple Hearts. The last one, he deliberately crashed his burning fighter into a column of Emrys mechs on Kef. That crash wounded him so severely that the doctors feared he would never recover. But he did, because he's important to the plot. He's got that plot shielding armor. Daniel did, however, survive his injuries and stood among the first to offer his support when General Kerensky issued the call to Exodus, though at the time he could barely walk. Making the decision to go was not easy. His entire family had died fighting the Emrys invasion of Kaf or during the Emrys occupation, leaving Mattlov the title of Duke of Kaf and the family's wealth. So, sole survivor. Loyalty to General Kerensky and the SLDF won out. Daniel left his family's future and fortunes to a distant cousin and joined the Exodus. Daniel Mattlov's activities during the Exodus and colonization of the Pentagon worlds remain largely unknown, but a few terse medical records show that he continued to pilot aerospace fighters against the judgment of his doctors. Screw those doctors, I'm gonna fly anyway. Who believed his days as a soldier had ended. Daniel Mattlov was one of the first to swear loyalty to Nicholas Kerensky when Alexander died while preparing the campaign to secure the rebellious world of Eden, and he probably met fellow supporter Elizabeth Hazen during the exodus to Stranamekti in the nearby Kerensky cluster. An easy friendship grew between the two as they recognized a similar devotion to the ideals embodied by Nicholas Kerensky. When Nicholas released the preliminary rosters of the 20 clans given the honor of ending the civil wars plaguing the Pentagon worlds, well, that's a hell of a sentence there, Daniel Mattlov's name was missing. Oh no! Outraged, Daniel confronted Nicholas Kerensky and his command staff and demanded to know the reason for this insult. When told he had been passed over because of his medical condition, Mattlov retorted that, while he might never pilot an aerospace fighter again, his lungs had been permanently weakened by his last crash, he could damn well pilot a mech better than any one of you fools. For once, his brashness earned him not a reprimand but respect. Daniel immersed himself in training as a MechWarrior and proved to be as skilled as controlling a mech as piloting a fighter. Yeah, you wouldn't need to breathe so much. All the G-forces that you would need to withstand as a fighter pilot would be irrelevant when you're on the ground. The final rosters for Nicholas's 20 clans must have given Daniel Mattlov great pride. His name was among those warriors who took an active part in the fighting, and his commander in clan Jade Falcon was his friend, Elizabeth Hazen, who we've heard a lot about. Karl Ikaza. How does Ikaza take bad news? Let me put it this way. I'd rather be covered with paper cuts and then thrown into a vat of lemon juice than tell Ikaza something he ain't going to like. Captain Daniel Marks, aide to Colonel Karl Ikaza. Okay. Nicholas Kerensky's final roster appointed Karl Ikaza commander of the clan Jade Falcon Infantry. While clan lore is full of stories about Karl Ikaza, his early history eluded our researchers. We eventually realized that our difficulty in tracing Karl Ikaza's roots lay in the fact that Ikaza was not his real name. The discovery that he was born Karl Benno of Skye in the Lyran Commonwealth revealed more information, including that Karl served 3 years in prison. Oh! Where'd he last pitch? California Penitentiary. A man of considerable size and strength, Karl Benno ni Ikaza staunchly opposed the class system on Skye, a very tradition-bound planet. He was expelled twice in his early years at Sanglamore Military Academy. How do you do that? For trying to unionize the university's maintenance staff. Oh ho! Sort of a, who was the guy? Cesar Chavez. That's the guy. But it was a long-standing grudge between Ikaza and Count Vimens Donikowski, Lyran Dean of the Academy, a staunch hater of liberal views that landed him in jail. All those liberals. The focus of their almost constant skirmishes shifted dramatically with the appearances on campus of Gina Drelith, eldest daughter and heir of the Duke of Kochab. Oh, more dukes than you can shake a stick at. An instant and dramatic passion sprung to life between Karl and Gina, who spurned Count Donikowski for her true love. Donikowski decided to devote his considerable political and social influence to making the young couple's life miserable. Oh, ain't that just like a guy? If that were not enough, Karl later faced charges of treason against the Lyran Commonwealth. The Count, acting as chief prosecutor, accused him of passing confidential information about important students to operatives of the Terran hegemony, and backed up the accusations with physical proof, like his fist or something. At first glance, the charges appeared to have been contrived by the jealous Count. However, deeper scrutiny shows no proof to suggest that he framed Karl or faked the evidence. That's a strange way of saying that the evidence was true. Oh, Battletech, I love your writing. The time spent in jail turned Karl's life around. Gina, shattered by the publicity surrounding the trial, left Karl and Sky for home, and so little remained for Karl in the Lyran Commonwealth. Shortly after earning a parole, Karl Benel left Sky for the Terran hegemony under the name Karl Ikaza. There he joined the SLDF. That he managed to evade the surveillance the Count placed on him after his release from prison goes a long way toward proving that Karl did indeed hold strong ties to the hegemony intelligence services. Bribey! Under his new name, Karl became a cadet in the West Point Military Academy of Terra. West Point is still in the future, apparently. And graduated 3 years later as an infantry lieutenant. He served with distinction in a variety of units, and by the time of the Amaris coup, commanded the 889th Jump Infantry Regiment with the 17th Jump Infantry Division, the Golden Talons. The Golden Talons, stationed just outside the hegemony at the time of the coup, played a vital but little remembered role in bringing down the usurper. They helped evacuate the survivors of SLDF units stationed on nearby hegemony worlds, then launched a campaign of probing attacks to test the mettle of Amaris' forces. These pitched and often brutal battles were fought at great cost to the SLDF forces, who received only the most rudimentary logistical support from the Confederation. Well, if they're jump troopers, you kind of sort of don't really have a lot of support. Ikaza's 889th, the Headhunters, spearheaded one such doomed attack against the hegemony world of Epsilon Iridani. Iridani. They will later become famous mercenary group, the Iridani Lighthouse, with orders to find and evacuate the SLDF soldiers rumored to be hiding in that world's Diamond Mountains on the southern continent. The rescue mission turned out to be nothing more than a ruse created by Amaris forces, and the trap cost the lives of many SLDF troopers. The ensuing slaughter destroyed the 889th as a fighting unit. Man, everybody's just falling into ambushes and traps. The Amaris troops captured Colonel Ikaza, and he languished in a stockade for 9 years, routinely suffering torture and humiliation and liberated by SLDF forces until liberated by SLDF forces led by the Golden Talons. Wow, 9 years in captivity. That's a long time as a prisoner of war. Considering that, the most longest would be the Japanese prisoners of war, or the prisoners of war the Japanese took with 1939 or such to 1945. That's 6 years. The Germans were at 4 or 5 years. That's a long time to be a prisoner of war. Ikaza never explained how he survived for so long under such brutal conditions, but perhaps it was sheer stubbornness. It made sense for Ikaza to volunteer to join up when Kerensky's Exodus call went out. He had seen mankind at its worst and probably wanted to put as much space between the inner sphere and himself as possible. I bet he had a real great 1,000-yard stare. When civil war became inevitable on the Pentagon worlds, Ikaza, a regiment commander on Dagda, demanded that Protector Alexander Kerensky and his son authorize the military to take immediate, harsh action. According to the Clan Wolf and Steel Viper lore masters, Ikaza's contemporaries began to question the man's mental health about this same time. Excessive use of corporal punishment to discipline his men and punish civilians under his control, as well reports of other odd behavior, led fellow officers to suggest that he be relieved of his command. Nicholas flatly denied this request, as he and Ikaza had become close friends during the Exodus. Yeah, nepotism for the win! Commander Brutal. Alexander's death and Nicholas's call for a new Exodus apparently shocked new life into the aging warrior. The 20 years of voluntary exile on Strana Mekti gave him the time and opportunity to free his mind of the demons that had troubled him. Oh, there's demons in his base. Nicholas had created a strike force of 800 warriors and put Ikaza in charge of training them in their new infantry unit formations and battle tactics. Nicholas, meanwhile, organized his followers into a new order based on the system of clans we see today. This new order would purge his people of the flaws that had led to so much civil strife up to this point, and also allowed him to train the force he would need to conquer the Command. No, not really. Embattled Worlds of the Pentagon. When Ilkhan Kerensky was finally ready, he assigned Clan Jade Falcon along with Clans Hell's Horses, Wolf, and Smoke Jaguar to liberate the planet Eden. Elizabeth Hazen, who we talked about previously, saw this as a chance to avenge the death of General de Chevalier. Karl Ikaza intended to use his assignment to impose some order and discipline among the populace. The four clans paired for the drop, with Jade Falcon teamed with Wolf. Oh, you're not going to see that happen too much. To take and control the planet's largest and most important continent, which doesn't have a name. Even before they arrived on Eden, a strong rivalry developed between the two clans. Oh, it's already starting! Nicholas Kerensky encouraged the competition because he thought it good for morale. That's not how morale works at all. Nicholas Kerensky, you are strange. Several weeks later, rivalry in the name of morale gave way to open feuding when Karl Ikaza's infantry points, capital P points, discovered a contingent of enemy infantry at nearly the same instant as a star of wolf mechs. Properly declaring their right to the battle, Karl and his troops moved to engage the opposition. Of course, he would be the proper guy. We were reading this from the Jade Falcon perspective, after all. But the wolf mechs waded past them into the enemy formation, killing most and scattering the rest. This is my kill! Infuriated, Karl Ikaza attacked the wolf leader, Star Commander Franklin Ward, as soon as the warrior dismounted his mech. The move signaled the start of a free-for-all, and the 5 wolf mech warriors got the worst of it. Aww. The fight ended with the arrival of Khan Hazen and Khan Fetladrel of Clan Wolf. When they discovered the reason for the fight, the Khans ordered the mech warriors whipped for violating the combat rights of Karl Ikaza's soldiers. Okay, take another brief break here. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, or subscribe. You can also interact with me on Twitter and Facebook at L1011Widebody. And if you'd like, you can pledge to sponsor me at patreon.com/L1011Widebody.